Now, back to Silver Moments with Dr. Marcia Baltimore.
So, Nurse Sanger directed her remarks to the poetry of courtship. And this is how she described it. She said, according to Balzac, the writer, the poetry of courtship is to awaken a desire, to nourish that desire, to cultivate it, to direct it as a poem in and of itself. So Balzac did the wording, and she repeated it in her book. The girl must remember that adventurous primitive man does not value an easy captive, she said. Hence, the young lady must generate the man's desire by making him pursue her. Now, Mrs. Sanger goes on to reveal how young lovers learn lovemaking together. That's the key word there, and bloom from it. She warns her readers that lovemaking cannot be dependent upon directions in a book. Instead, the two lovemakers must learn together, again that word, to nurture their love, to care for it, and to direct it. Margaret likened lovemaking to a musical symphony where the technique was mastered gradually by intelligent and unselfish guidance, each part requiring fulfillment with intentions to bring joy to your partner. The husband is the one who awakens his wife. By attuning himself to her needs, he will also be able to control himself until the time comes to bring himself with her to the greatest joy. The husband must learn that the sexual nature of man differs from that of woman because it is slower in response and not always immediately ready in a woman, but the man is always. Now, the smart husband learns how to make his wife ready. The first ingredient is time. Perhaps 20 minutes to half an hour, and during that time, the young husband might notice his wife's responses, her reaction to his caresses, what she likes, what she's indifferent to, taking notice possibly of secretions to tell him that she is ready for the act of love. The young wife has responsibilities as well. She has the casting aside of garments, the act of giving back to her husband, the rhythm of a love flight, as if a continuation of a dance. The goal of mutual ecstasy depends on both partners now, and that is what is necessary for a happy marriage. Now, taking that up, let's say 40 years later, to the young couple who are now in, let's say, their 60s, the husband's skill as a lover when he's an older gentleman is reflected in his wife's appearance, said Mrs. Sanger on page 227 of her book called Happiness in Marriage. The woman who appears radiant and youthful and glowing with vitality and contentment and good nature reveals more of her own husband's success than the envious or unhappy woman who may be dressed in the latest fashion, who may be laden with jewels, but who is not truly happy. The wife's love life is reflected in her appearance. Remember, gentlemen, your wife desires to be young for your sake. And you remember, ladies, that he is proud to be in your company, so continue to make him proud. Now, what does Carol Botwin say about Sex After Marriage, which was printed by Little Brown in Boston in 1985? This is 60 years after Margaret Sanger's book, Happiness in Marriage. We're talking a 60-year break here. Carol Botwin, who's a psychologist, quotes famous studies from Margaret Singer, not Sanger, different Margaret, and from Masters and Johnson, and from Duke University. And she sums it up this way. She says there's a study in Masters and Johnson by Thomas Holmes and Richard Rahe, and in which they list retirement itself as the number 10 stressor in the marriage. Number 10 is retirement. The others are ill health, change of jobs, and a lot of food processing. But the retirement is number 10. So why? The other partner is working still, perhaps, and the husband retires first, perhaps, and he has no structure in his life while the wife has structure. Or turn it around. The wife has structure if she retires first, and the husband doesn't. So these factors, as well as the aging process itself, can eat away at your self-esteem. And what does it do to your sex life? The Kinsey report shows that at age 60, only 20% of the men in the study were impotent. However, at the age of 85, over 75 were impotent. That is age. So in the 40 years, 55% became more impotent because of age. So what do they do about it? Asked Kinsey. And he asked the people, and the answer appeared to be, quote, an intense physical stimulation for the genitals, unquote, instead of having an erection to create the orgasm. It was pleasuring. So now we have to wonder what age does to ourselves. And that is difficult to say the same for everyone. So Kinsey had some other ideas about looking for those differences. And Dr. Kaplan reported her findings in women as follows: that the vaginal lubrication in a woman takes longer after 60 than it did when she was 55 and younger. There are fewer contractions, found Dr. Kaplan, at age 60 by women, maybe 1 or 2 at age 60, whether that is not true. That's not true. At 40, there were 5 to 6 contractions. So those findings about the women with the difference in lubrication and the difference in contraction, and about the men in ability to have an erection, illustrate that the body needs more stimulation as it ages in order for the individual to be satisfied. So now, what can we do to help that body? That's the next question. I am not a medical doctor, and I'm not giving out medical advice. I'm reporting on the book. One of the things we have to do is to stay healthy and help our mate stay healthy by eating correctly and taking the right vitamins and minerals. We have had 2 nutritionists on this program, and we will get them again, and others who have new books on nutrition. And we will bring you the news, quote, unquote, on findings for your health. You have to eat right. You have to have vegetables. You have to keep easy control over sugar. And you have to exercise. Now, how can you exercise if you're ill or have something broken? And furthermore, how can you even participate with your partner in a love act? Because even if your body is compromised by a late onset disease, such as Parkinson's or regular palsy, you can work out between you a physical position of comfort. And I think we should stop here, and you should go to your doctor and find out how to do that. Thank you.